This came out earlier this week. Here is the article from NBC News. Astronauts versus Musk. Public spat ensues over claims that politics delayed a flight to Earth. And what this is Elon Musk and Donald Trump were interviewed, I believe, by Sean Hannity. And the conversation about the stranded astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, came up. Do you guys know the two stranded astronauts? Do you know when they actually went up to the International Space Station? Anybody have any idea?
Well, I think I want to say it was 6 to 8 months ago. They were supposed to go up for like 13 days or something. Something malfunctioned. The next time they could get them down was 6 months later. It was supposed to be February that they were supposed to come down this February. And that's as much as I remember. And then Ashley St. Clair had a baby, and then we stopped talking about the stranded astronauts.
So these guys went up. They've been stranded on the ISS since June of 2024. Originally, it was supposed to be a 1-week stay. This is like Gilligan's Island.
3-hour tour.
A 3-hour tour where they're now stuck in space, and it's been since June, so we're in February now. So what is that?
It's 6 months. It's 7 months now. This is the stuff of nightmares. Like, this is it's like taking an elevator. You think you're going to be up on the floor in 3 minutes, and then you're stuck there for 24 hours, except this is in outer space where no one can hear you scream. How did they get food? Do you know how they got food?
I have no idea.
I'm sure they would bring up reserves, like, just in
Not
case.
6 months of. I think they must have gotten a visit from the International Space Station. Like, you don't go up for a week trip and bring 6 months worth of supplies.
How did they not get out if they got visited, though?
There was an issue about how they couldn't come down. I forget what the reason was as to why they couldn't.
I believe it was something to do with the airlock to connect to the ship to get them back down or something like that. But yeah, they've been stuck up there, and part of the problem is that the ISS is falling apart around them right now.
And that's what we're going to get
into. I know.
So let's play this clip. This is Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and this is where Elon complains or says and accuses the Biden administration of leaving these astronauts stranded on the International Space Station due to political reasons and not actually humanitarian or technological ones. Here's the clip.
You're committed to getting to Mars. You're committed to rescue. You're going to help rescue next month 2 astronauts that I think were abandoned. They dispute that in an interview.
At the president's request or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
They were yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
Okay, it's not good.
Interesting.
Now,
So, I mean, they go on to say, and Elon says, we're going to have a vehicle up there by March to be able to return them and bring them back to Earth.
By March. I mean,
so now you're already in, so you've been stuck there since June. We're now in the end stages of February, and they're looking to mid to late March, early April before they can get rescued. So these people have spent almost 10 months by the time they get back, if they get back, almost 10 months in space. But to what Connor said, and we'll get into it in just a second, there may be a even bigger issue regarding the actual structural integrity of the International Space Station. Go ahead.
So has Boeing said anything about this? Because this is their problem. And like in addition to all the planes that have been falling out of the sky, like they get like 4x the amount of money that Tesla gets or that SpaceX gets, and they're having all these problems. So why isn't Boeing being held accountable and speaking on this at all?
I don't know, but it's somebody that did speak out. Well, this is a Danish astronaut. I had no idea the Danes go to space. Anybody else know that the Danish had a space program?
We probably funded it.
With USAID money? So this is an astronaut, a Danish astronaut, Andreas Morgensen, and he wrote on Twitter, Elon, I have long admired you and what you have accomplished, especially at SpaceX and Tesla. You know as well as I do that Butch and Suni are returning with Crew 9, as has been the plan since last September. Even now, you are not sending up a rescue ship to bring them home. They are returning on the Dragon capsule that has been on the ISS since last September. Elon Musk then replies to that tweet and says so eloquently, and I quote, you are fully retarded. SpaceX could have brought them back several months ago. I offered this directly to the Biden administration, and they refused. Return was pushed back for political reasons, you idiot.
I like it. So this guy is beyond a subtard. He's the full tard. This is wild if it, in fact, turns out to be true. I presume Elon is not going to make a public statement that is going to be demonstrably false.
Yeah.
That they said, no, we don't want to accept your help because you're helping Orange Man bad. And so we're actually going to have 2 sacrificial lambs stuck up. By the way, was it Jean-Paul Sartre who said hell is other people? I mean, I don't know what's worse, solitary confinement or being locked in close confinement with somebody for 10 months.
Probably
Well, here's the
solitary.
question then.
Definitely solitary is worse.
Yeah, I think we discussed it a while back. Are they boinking up there?
Ugh.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think
Wait, how can you boink in zero gravity?
I don't
Oh,
know,
you
man.
can figure it out. If
You're
there's a will,
locked-
if there's
locked
a
in a
will,
room-
there's a way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
listen, I'm sure
locked in a
that-
room with somebody for 10 months. I'm sure you can figure it out if the desire's there. But
Do they shower? I mean, how do they shower?
they have to have some kind
bodily
of facility,
fluids.
But yeah, like that's
Brandon!
water turns into an orb.
overtly perverted.
far.
That's for me to do.
Science terms.
So what's interesting is the guy responds back. Andres, the Danish astronaut, says, "What a lie!" And from someone who complains about lack of honesty from the mainstream media. But this led me down a weird rabbit hole that involves a platform that I think many of our viewers may be familiar with, 4chan. Now, from my understanding, 4chan is not even as extreme as it gets. Apparently, there's 8chan as well.
Oh.
Wait,
That,
what?
that's largely been banned. in a lot
8chan
of
has
places.
been banned.
Wait
I
until
believe it
you
was
get
right
to-
after January 6th.
Wait until you get to 16chan, 32chan,
Right.
64chan. I'm just.
Oh, I didn't realize. I was like, I had no
I have no
idea.
idea. I just made that as a joke. Is that true? That's not.
I don't know.
Okay.
Chan squared.
So, where
Infochan.
where this goes to, let's pull up this next article. There's an MSN article. Yesterday, after this argument takes place, Elon Musk calls for the preparations for the International Space Station's deorbiting. And in the article, if we could go to the article, Musk calls for preparations to deorbit the ISS, suggesting a timeline of 2 years instead of the scheduled 2030. We can go back, Natalia. That's on me. I'm sorry. Just the actual headline that you had was good. There you go. Good. Elon Musk stated that the ISS has served its purpose and recommended deorbiting it as soon as possible. NASA's existing plan involves deorbiting the ISS in January of 2031. However, right now, according to reports on the internet, and we'll get into them more, but there was a 4chan post that came out from a female whistleblower just a few months ago in late December where they were claiming that they had been in top secret meetings that the International Space Station was actually structurally falling apart, and the deorbiting could be very dangerous to people here on Earth because if it breaks up over space and falls to Earth, they have no indication or no way of controlling where it lands. Here's the tweet from Elon Musk. "It's time to begin preparations for deorbiting the space station. It has served its purpose. There is very little incremental utility. Let's go to Mars." And that led me to this. Here's a Newsweek article from December 19th of last year. NASA responds to rumors of catastrophic ISS deorbit. And what this article is it's an article debunking this next slide right here from 4chan. This was posted on 4chan on the 16th of December. Now, you got to think, how often does Newsweek debunk 4chan posts? Is that a common practice for Newsweek to
They'll
do?
only debunk a 4chan post when the 4chan post is accurate. Because if it's not accurate, there's no need to debunk it, and nobody wants to give 4chan any more attention than it already gets.
And that's the weird thing about 4chan is that many things there are verified, and the media will acknowledge them, just not from 4chan. 4chan makes its way to Twitter, now X, and people talk about it there, and that's what the media will debunk.
So-
because they can accept it when it's on a platform like X.
Okay. And this post came out, again, this is the day before that article was written. And in the post, it's an anonymous post, but the title of the post is ISS going down, not a drill. And in the post, the person writes, FEMA Anon here. Posting this before the higher-ups lock everything down. Shit's going sideways with the ISS. We got a briefing this morning. Major structural crack detected. Not some hairline bullshit. We're talking catastrophic failure levels. They're scrambling, but it's too late. They tried to patch it a few months ago, but it's worse than they thought. Chain reaction started last night. No official word yet, but deorbiting is happening and uncontrolled. NASA and Roscosmos are freaking out. They're going to spin it like they planned this, but I'm telling you now, this is an emergency. 5 kilometers per month is the current deorbit rate. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT, all right, what happens if we were to deorbit the International Space Station? And this is like under controlled circumstances, nothing. They would send up some type of controlled device that would help control the re-entry over a remote part of the ocean. It would probably burn up in when it returns to Earth. It would fall into sea and there'd be no problem.
Which actually, on that point, Rob, I just remembered I did a report on this like 8 months ago now, I'm seeing, according to the headline there. NASA awards SpaceX $843 million contract to deorbit the ISS in 2030. So SpaceX is heading up the program to bring this thing down.
But what happened?
Unless it crashes by itself.
Well, just so that also, I mean, many people might not know what deorbiting even means. It's when you take something out of orbit and to have it burn up or crash. And so basically, you can't just let it fall out of the sky, is what I understand, and it has to be done in a technologically safe manner. And you can't, I guess, blast it further into outer space so that it becomes space debris.
Well, so I asked ChatGPT, okay, what happens if it were to break apart? Then what would happen with the deorbiting? And what it said was that it would be fragmentation in orbit, which would lead to, so due to structural failure, a collision of space debris, or an internal explosion, the pieces would scatter into different orbits. They could linger in space for months or years, depending on their size and altitude. It says that on an uncontrolled reentry, without a controlled deorbit burn, Earth's gravity and atmosphere's drag would eventually pull the fragments down unpredictably. Pieces would re-enter at different times over various parts of the world. They also say many smaller parts would burn up completely in the atmosphere, but larger sections like titanium tanks, steel trusses, and modules, they could survive re-entry and impact the ground or ocean at random locations. If fragments landed in a high populated density area like a city, they would cause serious damage, injuries, and deaths. They also say that an uncontrolled deorbit could initiate what's called the Kessler syndrome risk, which means a chain reaction of satellite collisions that would make low Earth's orbit unusable.
That sounds like a bit of an exaggeration.
Then I asked ChatGPT, would FEMA be involved? Because it goes back to the original post. The person said they were FEMA anonymous. Would FEMA be involved in this? And it says, yes, FEMA would actually be involved. It would help track the debris in real time and then help with any type of evacuations that the government may put in place, and also help with the rebuilding mission if there was any structures that were injured. So the final piece of this is the following 4chan post. If we could go to the next 4chan post. Sorry, I was on a 4chan rabbit hole yesterday reading about all of this. And what this links back to is a 4chan post from back in 2016. 2011, April 16th of 2011. Somebody went on 4chan and predicted that the International Space Station was going to break apart in orbit. They said that they had a dream-like event where they felt like they were sleeping, but they were living reality. And they were living a different reality than what we're accustomed to, but they weren't asleep. They also weren't awake. It was some kind of weird middle state. And the person claims that they predicted, or they foresaw, that the International Space Station would break apart, it would deorbit into Earth, and what would happen is it would initiate, that. This is where it gets weird, if the rest wasn't weird enough. It's going to initiate a nuclear war that breaks out between Russia, the United States, and China. It'll be, which the nuclear war will then be catastrophic to humanity, but will also usher in aliens. And aliens will then invade, and these aliens are really bad aliens, according to this person's post, what they viewed while they were in some type of...
it sounds like a DMT trip. How did they get from the failure to the nukes? Like, what was the connection there?
All they said was that the deorbiting and the breakup of the International Space Station led to the beginnings of the nuclear holocaust.
Maybe one of those things where, remember how Russia almost fired nukes at us because they like had a misreading on their signal?
But that I can understand. The connection between something falling out of orbit and triggering nuclear war is a tenuous one at that. Also, worth noting that the original ISS, it was supposed to last like 15 years, I think, and it was launched in 2000. So people saying it's going to break apart come the time when its useful life is coming to an end, it's not as a wildly insane prediction as some might think. They've extended its life, but it's normal around 2020 that someone's saying, yeah, there's stress cracks and whatnot.
What a bad return on investment. It's like the most expensive thing ever built. You know that?
I have no idea what it cost or why it is even there at this point.
It cost like $100 million. I think it was the most expensive structure ever built. So we could have sent 1,000 of them to space for instead of helping Ukraine.
So what's interesting about this is that after I sent all of this stuff in the Slack channel. So, hey, first of all, guys, before we move on to the next topic, and Connor is something that I want him to weigh in on here with that he found. But do you guys give any credence to this? Do you guys think that this is just 4chan bullshit and it was some guy that was on a DMT trip that made this up and that it ends up actually just happening to come true, that the International Space Station may be deorbiting because of a structural failure as opposed to a controlled one? Or do you guys think this is all hogwash and made up bullshit?
No, I think it's falling apart because, I mean, like, the government built it, so of course it's going to fall apart and be a disaster. And I mean, anything that FEMA's involved in is bad news. But I think that since Trump and Musk are like going to have a heavier hand in it than they normally would, it'll be less of a disaster than it would be if, like, somebody else was running it. So no, and I don't know, it's some blog post. I don't think there's much to that.
Amy, any credence to this, or are you?
I mean, more so with the if I hadn't read the second story, then maybe I would have given it a little bit more credence. The first one, they go and debunk that, but then you read this one and you're like, I don't
So
know.
the second 4chan post delegitimizes the first 4chan
yeah,
post.
I
is
mean,
what
wait.
you're saying.
And did you even finish what happens when the bad aliens come?
Oh, okay, really, actually scary. That's why okay, so this guy
Scarier
claimed
than the
it is.
nuclear war.
Well, according to this guy, if you survive the nuclear war, the aliens come down, and what the aliens
Enslave
do
you.
is that, no, even worse, they actually shed your skin from you.
Wow.
So they remove your skin, but you're still alive, and then they put you in, like, these tanks that you float in formaldehyde or whatever, and then they reuse your skin, and the aliens wear your skin to trick people into, like, okay, say I'm Humberto, and you live with Humberto, and the aliens invade. Well, I'm the alien. I go and I kill Humberto. I wear his skin suit. I mimic his mannerisms.
Be a little
and I
loose on you
convince
there,
you to
buddy.
come out of hiding. Then when you come out of hiding, because you're like, oh, it's my buddy Humberto, then the alien kills you, and then they steal your skin, and it just replicates.
that's
I'm
that sounds
so
like-
sorry I asked.
Yeah,
Oh my
That sounds
goodness.
as dumb as the movie Face Off, where they like remove the guy's skin on his face, and
Face
suddenly
Off-
Face Off was an
Suddenly-
amazing movie.
Thank
You
you.
shut
it was entertaining, but it's so stupid that they change their skin on
Well,
their face,
first
and
of all,
suddenly
just-
they have the
Nick
same
Cave
voices,
is the
mannerisms.
Just so we
Yes.
appreciate what they are describing is literally Men in Black, where the alien comes down and
it's
puts all the
Face Off,
guy's
except
skin.
with the body.
It's also mixing a little frazzle drip in there, so that person probably had some, some deep dives into
Invasion
the
of the Body
Clintons.
Snatchers and the Matrix and all that other, like, it's insane.
But the-
Viva, all right, any credence to this, or do you
No,
think it's all because we got to move on?
The delusions are always based somewhat on reality, and then they go into farcical, land. What the hell's happening with the two people that are still stuck out there? I mean, that's where we started. Like, so they're waiting until March now, and then we're going to see if Elon goes up. And it's wild. I have no doubt. When they got stuck in the caves in Indonesia, in Thailand, Elon was going to send in a submarine. I have no doubt he offered his assistance, and I would not be surprised that the Bidens turned it down for political purposes.
The most interesting, or the person whose input I'm most interested in is Connor's, and the reason why, Connor, is because of what you brought to my attention regarding something that has been going on or went on the International Space Station prior to these reports. Could you tell the audience
Yes.
what that is?
So, yet another 4chan post, as it turns out. There are reports, verified reports, but unverified that this is actually the way it went down, where there was, in 2018, a female astronaut on the ISS who was accused of sabotaging a Russian shuttle and also breaking a bunch of stuff on the ISS because she wanted to be sent home early because she was worried about what her boyfriend was doing while she was in space.
Oh my god.
It's, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. We have just established that 4chan is nuts. I don't think anybody was unaware of that going in. But the story itself is true, that there was a large hole discovered in a Russian shuttle, and the Russians accused this female astronaut who was aboard, because she was from the United States, they said she sabotaged it. This 4chan post claims that, she was so desperate to get sent home, she was, mad at being there after like a week, and they told her, hey, your next shuttle home is not for another 9 months.
Should have
So
ejected her.
Yeah, she immediately started backing up toilets, breaking computers, throwing tools out airlocks. She was trying to make it so that they had to fire her from space, according to this post.
Wow.
I don't know if it's true, but there are, it does expose the fact that there are major structural failures happen. That's verified.
Like all because of her.
Yeah, they're saying it might be because of her, it might be because of other things. But I mean, the shuttle or the ISS has been up there for almost 30 years now. Parts are breaking down, radiation and meteor impacts and everything that have caused it to start collapsing. And maybe possible human intervention is making it fail as well.
We're going to find out that hole was actually USAID money investing in international glory holes to see how it works in outer space.
All right. Well, thank you for you guys for paying attention or joining me. By the way, we've got 1,090.
Yeah.
1,067 people watching live right now on YouTube. Guys, we are actually now only 1,100 subscribers away. So if you are joining us, this is your first time, or you're a repeat customer and you have not subscribed yet, do it, because we are on the road to 100,000 and we need your help to get there.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.